Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Cardella Coulson, the founder of iWest. It is my pleasure to bring you interesting people every week with different backgrounds that can make positive impacts in your life. There is one This week, our topic is let's get honest about our money situation and how to take charge of our personal finances. There is an echo. Can you hear that echo?
Yes, we can hear you. If you can speak a little louder.
All right.
Martha, the echo is because there are people who don't have their microphone muted. So if we all mute our microphones, I think
I'll just mute everyone for the time being. Okay. Let me start again. Okay, this week our topic is let's get honest about our money situation and how to take charge of our personal finances. Managing money can be difficult and stressful to some people, or I would say to most people. Many of us from all over the world and from all walks of life are having to deal with it, whether we like it or not. I am sure many of you will agree with me that if we can reduce our financial worries, we will be able to focus on other important areas of our life and relax. Tonight, I have invited one of the very interesting person that I admire. She is an award-winning women empowerment ambassador, an international speaker, personal finance counselor, and the tour with the universe. Please welcome the glamorous Sandi Saksena. Good evening, Sandi. I am delighted to have you here at the International Women Entrepreneur Society platform. Before we proceed to our main topic, and for those who don't know you, could you kindly tell us something about who is Sandi Saksena? How did she become a personal finance counselor? And what is the meaning of the tour with the universe?
All right. Thank you very much, Cardella, for that lovely introduction and opening words about what we will be talking about today. So for those who don't know who I am, well, I'm too glam to give a damn. And I consider myself a queen. And because I do many things, the saying goes that you wear many hats, and of course queens don't wear hats, they wear crowns. And so because I have so many, I just had one tattooed on my forehead so that I will forever have my crown on my head. So having said that, I also believe that I'm completely unique, and I'm as unique as my fingerprint. There's nobody else in the world like me. So moving from that premise, when I started out in my career as a financial counselor, unlike many ladies, I started working very late in life. I was 44 years old and in a very bad financial situation, in dire straits, and I needed to find myself a job. But it was extremely difficult because I was middle-aged, I'd never worked before, and in short, I couldn't write a CV. So there was not much going for me except two things: a very strong belief in myself and a very good and positive attitude. And I always tell people, if you have attitude, belief, and courage, you can achieve anything, anytime, anywhere in your life. So I think fate had a lot to do with this. So I, a person who was not very good with their financials, ended up becoming a financial planner with Nexus Insurance Brokers. I've been with the company or with the group for the last 23 years. They've been an amazing company, and I have learned a lot. I have developed a lot of my skills, my self-confidence, and I aim to stay with them as long as possible. They are one of the best brokers in town. And if you ever need any kind of financial advice or counseling or a program, anything, please do get in touch with me. So I've done my sales pitch now. Let's move on.
But that is a very interesting and confident way of introducing yourself. A queen and a too glum to give a damn.
Yes, absolutely. Always.
Okay, let me ask you the first question. Is it true that managing money depends on our relationship with money, which is connected on how we were brought up and how our parents and relatives dealt with their finances?
Absolutely true. And this awareness came to me after quite a few years when I'd be doing presentations and articles and, getting more and more people aware of why they should be doing things, how it would be good for them. And I always thought maybe I wasn't doing my job well enough. And so I started exploring, like, how could I become more effective to bring about a change in people's attitudes? Then I realized no matter what I said and how I said it was never going to make a difference. And so I started exploring this, and I worked with a transactional analyst. Her name is Dr. Verna Goodwin, and a transactional analyst is a psychologist, and she's a therapist. And so when I worked with her, and I also attended the Landmark Forum, I then was brought to understand that a lot of what we do, or whether it's related to money or even our relationships, is based very much on the messages that we absorbed as children. So when I say children, we're talking from birth to about 7 years, when the brain activity of all children is very low, and it's mostly in absorption mode. So it's in learning mode. So when we absorb information, there's no right or wrong, good or bad. It's just recorded in our subconscious. So when it comes to money, and this is something that we all discuss, and we think because children are around and they're small, it doesn't really matter. So whether we're talking budgets, whether we're talking about job security, whether we're talking about do we have enough, whether we're having arguments about money, whether we have observed that money is being used as a tool to exercise power, or any of those things, it sits in our mind. And as we grow up, those things start dictating how we are managing our money and our relationship to money. So it's a very interesting exercise that I would encourage all participants to do. So all they have to do is sit back and think about the messages they received and what they heard. So was it like, for example, was dad in charge of all the major financial decisions? So when it came to household grocery shopping and other things, mom had an allowance that was given to her by dad, and she did all that. But when it came to major stuff, it was always she who deferred to dad, who had the final say. I also know of a lot of women, even in this day and age, who have joint accounts, and they have supplementary credit cards and supplementary ATM cards, and they're very happy and comfortable with it. So again, it's a question of the culture. It's a question of how they were brought up. And when they get married, they feel that they should just follow through on all of those things. Very seldom do they sit back and say, I need to make my own decisions. I need to find out whether this is really going to work. I need to question my husband's decisions, not because I don't trust him, but because I would like to know what he's doing. So now there are a lot of people who do these things, and I think a lot of our participants could be those kind of women who would be taking a more active role in the finances of their home or themselves, but I'm talking in general. So that's something that we need to be mindful of. Also, if we have younger children and we have grandchildren, it is our responsibility to make sure we don't talk a lot about these things in their hearing.
Agree.
Okay? So it's an exercise all of us should do, and you'll be surprised whatever you come up with. So I'll give you three kinds of people that we have. One is the spender. All right. Now, the spender spends money for two reasons. First of all, to impress others. Also, it is to buy attention because maybe growing up they did not feel wanted. They were not. They were ignored, and so now they want to be popular. They want to be the go-to person. So they'll pick up the bill. They'll pick up the tab. They'll buy expensive gifts for you, to the point where they're actually in debt. But it is something that they just cannot control because it's an emotional switch that goes on in their head that they want to do something like that. So that it could be something that one should be mindful about. Then there's the hoarder. So these are the people who have a fear that they won't have enough money, or they have a fear that if they put their money in some kind of a savings plan or anything like that, it will just disappear. So they're very risk averse, which also stems from something that could have happened during their childhood. So then they sort of paralysis by analysis. So they'll analyze everything and convince themselves. And then you have the people who say, you know what, I need to build. I need to build, make sure that I have this, I have that. And so in that pursuit of building more and more, they could sometimes risk what they have because they're only looking at the bigger picture. They don't go into the details.
Yeah.
So those are the various, should I say, characters that we play in our life.
Yeah. Spender. The other one is
the hoarder.
a hoarder. Okay.
Yes, and then there's the builder who wants to build all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter whether it's going to be worth it or not. They just want to build.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we can recognize ourselves in some of those characters or all of those characters, but one of them will always be dominant.
Yeah.
So what else would you like to ask me?
Okay. Well, after analyzing our current situation and dealing with the out of the ordinary pandemic, what would be the best suggestion in managing our finances?
All right. So some of us are fortunate enough to be in a good financial situation. There are many of us who are not. It could be either what we call a fault of the company where they work. That means there's no business in that company. There could be that commissions are held back. A lot of consultants who have been depending on consultancy money coming in from projects that they're doing could find that the cash flow is not happening. So a lot of us have been forced to remain at home. A lot of us have been forced to curtail our social activities. A lot of us have been even forced to curtail on our beauty treatments. That's a big one for us ladies. But in all that time that we've had, a lot of us have said, okay, let's just go with the flow. Others have said, well, I can't do anything about it, so I'll just chill. Others are very worried, they're very stressed out because their finances are running low and they don't know how they could stretch those dirhams to cover all expenses, which we call fixed expenses. So this is a very good time when people should look inward toward themselves, and if they have a family, to do this as a family. It's not only about you. If you're a family member, then you need to involve your spouse, your children, your siblings, whoever, and actually write down your budget. Now, I know people say, yes, I have a general idea of how much I spend. I am pretty good at keeping track of all the receipts because I sort of tally them up. But how many of us truly do that? And now we have come to a situation where we are using our ATM cards and our credit cards far more than we are using cash. So how many of us actually make a note of everything that we buy online? Mm-hmm. It could be ordering food, it could be ordering groceries, it could be ordering all kinds of stuff, because that's the way it's supposed to be And now, of course, since we started going out, things, of course, have changed. But in the meantime, most of the stuff that we have done has been online. And it's when it's going out of your credit card or it's going from your ATM card, very seldom do we keep track of what is being spent. So that's one part. The other part, which is interesting, is because of our movements being curtailed, there are a lot of things, for example, going to the mall, going for coffee, meeting out for lunch or dinner, hanging out with our friends, taking the kids to an entertainment center, etc., all stop. So on the one hand, you could have had a drop in income, but on the other hand, you were forced not to spend money. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And if you look at all those things, maybe you find, is everybody on mute except me?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay.
Sorry.
So we will find that there are a lot of people who have actually saved money. And here's the interesting thing. If you do something or you don't do something for a period of a minimum period of 21 days, you could either make a habit or break a habit. So we've had more than 21 days. So let's think about all those habits of spending that were very automatic to us. How many of those have we given up? And truly speaking, how many of those did we really miss? We could do without them because we didn't have a choice.
During the pandemic, we learned how to.
But now we have a choice. So we can decide, do we really need to do that? Did it make a huge difference when we didn't do that? And how much more money could we save? So that's one thing, right? The other thing is, for the first time, we had time. We always complain we don't have time, but we had time. So what did we do with that time? Did we just watch Netflix and spend our time chatting with friends on the net? Or did we actually use that time to bring about a positive change in ourselves, be it our health, be it our diet? And how about upgrading our skills? Because we all know that post-pandemic, we have all got to make changes in the way that we communicate, in the way that we do our business. And for those of us who have not had the opportunity of upgrading our, for example, media skills, this is the wonderful time to do that. So let's get constructive and see what we can do.
That's true, Sandi. Another question is, many of the people depend on their monthly income from salary or commissions and believe that life is unpredictable and there is no way to save money. What can you say about that?
Oh, it's very simple. But when you say something which is very simple, it then becomes the hardest thing to do. And in this case, as a financial planner, the best thing to do is pay yourself first. Everything else comes behind you. It doesn't matter how many responsibilities you're shouldering. You are the generator of your income. Therefore, you need to pay yourself first. So the salary that you get, the commission that you get, the income that you get, first person to pay is you. And when I say pay yourself first, you take a percentage, and I generally recommend 10%. And you put it in a place that you cannot touch. If you're touched, you're penalized. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to get into the habit of saving and I'm going to be very disciplined. And at the end of the month, I'm sure I will be able to save X amount, and then I will put that towards my, should I say, emergency fund or whatever. And 9 times out of 10, that does not happen. So when you pay yourself first, you take that 10% cut. Now, a lot of people say, I can't really manage to take 10% and, I have so many expenses. And my answer to them is this: if your boss or the owner of your company or whatever said to you, we are having financial problems like we're having now, and you still have your job, but you've got to take a 10% cut, would you do it? Would you make adjustments? Would you go home and tell your family, you know what, be grateful that I have a job, and now we have to tighten our belt and we're going to do things differently? You'll do it. So my question is this: why should it be forced on you? Why can't you voluntarily do it for yourself? Because if you truly value and love yourself, you'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first thing that you need to do, is take that 10% cut and put it in a place where you cannot touch. The other thing which is very important is building your emergency funds. And of course, this entire pandemic thing has brought that home to all of us without exception. So emergency fund is at least 3 months cash in the bank, not in an investment, not in a quick turnaround stuff, but cash in the bank that you will be able to use to pay bills which are important, your house rent, your electricity and water and other stuff, right? So if you think, oh, let me put this money in a quick investment, well, all investments went down. So if you were to encash it, you would be losing money. So this is supposed to be cash.
True.
Right? And I would suggest to everyone, if you are a part of a family, please don't think of yourself as separate. Your family needs to know. They need to be involved in financial matters because it affects everyone.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. So what else would you like to know?
It happens to me actually. It's very sad stories, but yeah, that's very true.
It happened to me as well.
Yeah.
Because before the pandemic, my mother suffered a stroke. And she's 87 years old. So the insurance, of course, is not much. We, in fact, didn't have any insurance at that time. So everything came out from our pocket. So in the middle of, before the pandemic struck, we had already spent thousands and thousands of dirhams. And then the pandemic came, and then our income dried up. And I was in a bad situation because all the emergency money had been used up. So when I say 3 months and people say, oh, well, that's too much, believe me, it's not.
We learned from all those things that we've been doing.
So here I am as a financial counselor. I'm not telling you start a savings plan, do this investment, take that insurance. No, I'm talking basic stuff. After all this is taken care of, then you start looking at number one, insurance.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, why should I have insurance? I'd rather do a savings plan. You know, I am going to live to a ripe old age. I'm never going to fall sick, stuff like that. But insurance is important. And if you're in a situation, for example, you're running a business and your business is not doing well. And as a woman, you fall critically ill. Yes, maybe you have a medical insurance, but you also decided not to take a very comprehensive one because it was too expensive. And so you realize that all that money has been used up very fast. And if you're not generating income and your expenses have gone up, how will you manage?
That's true. I learned that because I actually reached the rock bottom, and I started doing the insurance kind of thing in 2002. And that's very, very true.
So I don't know how many of the ladies who are right now with us, we have 9 people, I think 7 excluding us, whether they have any personal story or something that they know. And if they do, perhaps they can share it on chat if they would like to, and we can pick it up from there.
Or if you want to unmute yourself. Well,
so in the meantime, we can move on and talk a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah. We can do the answer and question and answer at the later stage.
Okay.
What are your recommendations in order for us to be more conscientious in saving money for the things that we care about, like our family, children's education, retirement, etc.?
All right. So the first and most important thing I would recommend to all the ladies is do your paperwork. So if you don't have a will, please make one. If your spouse does not have a will, encourage them to make one. If your parents don't have a will, encourage them to make one, because this can cause a lot of problems, especially if the person who passes away does not have a will, but has, for example, a property or perhaps some cash or other things, terminal indemnities from the companies over here, etc. So having a will is the basic. You need to have a will, not only for yourself, but for encourage other people in your families to make one. Number two, bring out all the documents that you have. Encourage your husband to share all documents that he has in terms of properties, in terms of investments, bonds, shares, whatever else. Also be aware of all the loans that you, your husband, or other families where it will have a direct impact on you have been taken. Are they car loans? Are they personal loans? Are they real estate loans like mortgage loans, etc., etc.? So make a list of all those loans, and more important, what are the amounts, what is outstanding, and what is the time frame when those loans will finish.
It's very, very important, actually, especially here in the UAE. I have a friend just recently, I mean, her husband died recently, and she won't be able to get any of the money that her husband have. The bank has frozen their account, and there is a family law that I'm very, very, they said that the mother of the man has to come to UAE to be able to do all these things. Is that true?
Okay,
That's the
so
family law?
all right. So when we're talking about the UAE, now I don't know how many people who are tuned in right now are living in the UAE. So if you live in the UAE and you do not have a will, which is valid in your country, of your nationality, then automatically the Sharia law in the UAE will apply.
Hmm.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Now, if you're the female, male members of your family, for example, your son or etc., your brother-in-law, these are the people who will then start controlling the monies. But before that happens, if the person who's passed away has any loans, if they're working, for example, and they have a personal loan, they have a credit card loan, they have a car loan, etc., etc., all monies will be frozen. And only when all the debtors have been paid will the family receive any money that could be left over.
Hmm.
All right, so here's the danger. If the person, if it's in the family, there is only one bank account which is held by the person who has the job or the business, then all monies will be frozen.
Yeah, that is
Right?
so
So
scary.
especially from a female perspective, you must have your own bank account, not only in the UAE, but outside the UAE in your home country. Very important. And please transfer money regularly to these bank accounts so that you build up a nest egg, which could be used in the unfortunate event of your family member in the UAE passing away. All
Yeah.
right. Now, the other point which I'd like to make is divorce. All right. This is a fact of life. And people get divorced quite often. And again, it becomes a question of, if I had a joint account, the first thing that the male spouse will do is remove all the money. So you don't have access, right? If the house is in joint names, they will try very hard to make sure that that property does not in any way go to the spouse. So there are lots and lots of different ways in which divorce can get ugly, and it always involves money. So if you're wise enough, then you will do your paperwork, You will be aware of the paperwork and you will make changes in the paperwork if it is required. The other thing is you must have a will.
Yeah.
I cannot stress on this enough. So coming back to the point of how will I manage if there's no money or I don't have access to money? So I still have to pay bills, but suddenly my spouse has gone or the head of the house has gone. I could be the daughter, I could be the wife, I could be whatever. What happens to me? How do I manage? Now, I'm going to say this, it's very clear, and it is something that is done all over the world. Life insurance. So, for example, if your spouse has got a life insurance policy, right? And you are the beneficiary. This is the good part. Mm-hmm. Since the life insurance money comes only after the life insured passes away, because it's paid after the person passes away. Mm. And it goes directly to the beneficiary. Mm. It is not part of the estate of the deceased. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Therefore, it is clean money available to the family to carry on meeting their financial obligations. So any money that has been frozen to pay off loans and could be disputed with partners in a business, etc., that can go on, but you still have money to pay for your children's education, for travel, for your for the funeral expenses of the person who's passed away, and other things. So life insurance is an amazing product, and most people don't realize this because they always say, oh, she just wants to sell us a life insurance policy. There's a lot more that goes in behind that.
That's true, because when my father died, that's all we sustained us.
Yes. So I know of a lot of widows who have been completely penniless because they did not have enough money to manage. The other thing which I want to just bring to everybody's notice is, this is a case that happened with a friend of mine. The husband worked for a very large local company, very reputable local company, and he spent a very long time in hospital. So the bills were getting paid by the company, and she was, in no state to really realize what was happening. Unfortunately, when her husband passed away and the funeral and everything was done, she then went to the company and said, my husband worked for X number of years, and so what is the terminal gratuity? Do you know what they told her? What? He doesn't have any. And she said, how is that possible? He says, oh, that was the money we were using to pay his medical bills, because once the medical insurance expired, we could not get him insured again because he was already a risk. So the medical insurance company said, we will not insure somebody who's in the hospital and on their deathbed.
Yeah.
So they, without informing her, just kept using all the money that was accumulated in his terminal benefits. And when she went to get, asked for that, they said, oh, well, that's all finished. In fact, you owe us money because we pay for all the treatments. How do you like that? Why was this situation there? Because she was not aware. She was a working woman, yet she was not aware. And ladies who are listening in, please, awareness is the key. You need to be aware, because even if it's not going to affect you directly, you can help somebody in a situation because of your knowledge. Mm-hmm. All right?
Yeah. There are lots of people who are very uncomfortable talking about money, but it's really, really important. That's even when we were inside our stomach, the stomach of our mother, we already need money. So
absolutely. I always say, from the day you were conceived till after you die, the only companion in life is money.
Yeah.
Because you're an expense even after you die. So here's a morbid thought. How much does it cost to die in the UAE? Does anybody know?
Thank
I
God
leave
not,
it,
no one lied.
I leave it up to the people to find out.
Is there anyone who knows that? Asli? Shola? Valerie is far away, so.
I am more concentrated in living good in UAE. You know, in we, in Turkey, we don't talk about it, so we think it stays away. So, you know, I know it must be expensive, definitely.
Yes,
So
it
how
is.
much is it, Sandi?
Okay, it can cost anything from 12,000 to 25,000 dirhams.
Live long. Let's live long. Let's live long.
You never know though, Asli.
Whether you live long or you die soon, you will die one day, right? And it would be irresponsible if you left that expense on your children or your surviving family. That is why I say life insurance is important, because it's not going to make other people rich, but at least it can make people secure. We're not talking about rich even, we're talking about secure.
Yeah, but they said that in Islamic way, they don't believe in insurance, but nowadays it is very, very important. There are lots of women.
Okay, Cardella, I'm so happy you brought up that point, because we have companies, because I'm with Nexus, we have companies that are owned and run by people in the UAE. There are no international partners. And these people have come up with a Sharia compliant life insurance plan. The company is one of the companies that I know personally, because a lot of my Muslim clients have taken plans, savings and insurance plans from them. They're called Salama.
Yeah, I know Salama.
So they have got the Sharia experts, the people who know the law, the Sharia law, and they have got all what is required to be added in the plan, so that people who are conscious about their religion, in, like, for example, Islam, feel comfortable taking it, and it's not haram.
Yeah, and I think they're now all educated enough to know that you don't want to be a burden to your family when you leave the world. Yeah.
So we shouldn't be a burden to our family when we are alive, and least of all when we die.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah. So I know I'm being morbid here, but so now let's talk about something that makes us happy.
Yeah,
Right?
Sandi, I heard about that initiative that you have for UN. Can you tell us about something about that?
About what, which one?
Your initiative about UN India, or you're interviewing.
Okay, this is actually it's a worldwide program from UNGC, and it is being spearheaded out of India for now. It's called Act of Kindness. So if anybody who is in the age group of 15 to 35, so if you're between that age group, or you have children in that age group, or siblings, or anybody in that age group, 15 to 35, we would like to know about your act of kindness.
Anywhere in the world, right?
Anywhere in the world. We are targeting right now 200 countries. And we are going to upload 7,500 video stories from around the world. So it doesn't matter if you don't speak English, it's not important. If you can record it in your mother tongue, in a language in which you are comfortable, that's fine, because it's an international initiative, Act of Kindness. And Kadala, I'll share the details with you, and maybe you can pass it on to all the ladies on your platform.
Yeah,
and
I will.
I think it's a great initiative for young people, obviously, the ones who are leaving school, because it adds a lot to their extracurricular activities, because nowadays everybody is looking at CSR, and it's a good way to get some brownie points as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandi. Well, is there anyone who wants to ask a Sandi question?
I see that we have a lot of stuff on chat.
On chat, yeah. I'll go through it. I shared all the information where they can contact you as well.
Yeah. So I see over here that Arabella says Dutch people have a record number of insurances, and yes. So she's already left, but it's a wonderful thing because what happens is, I don't know why in this part of the world, when people from other countries, especially European countries, etc., come here, they seem to forget that things like insurances and all are still important. But in their own countries, they have to do it because there's lots of laws that say you must take these insurances, because everybody knows how expensive it is if you don't have insurance.
Mm.
So whether it's medical, whether it's life, whether it's critical illness, the critical illness is a big one. And that is, I think, very important for women, because more and more women are getting cancer. And the largest claims around the world, and this part of the world especially, is breast cancer, followed by cervical cancer. And so your medical insurance can only do that much. Please remember that. Don't see under this false sense of security that, oh, I have a medical insurance. It will not cover all the treatments that you need. Those people who are not aware, do you even have the slightest idea how much chemotherapy costs?
Yeah, it is very expensive.
Yes, very expensive.
Yeah. So be wise. If you want to have good quality treatment, you want to enjoy your life, and you truly love and respect yourself, you will do things whereby if something like this happens to you or to a loved one, you have been wise enough to make good financial decisions and do the things that are important to keep you financially well.
Hmm.
Okay, so I don't know who else there is. Anybody else? There are lots of things on chat.
I shared all the information, Sandi, and
Okay.
yeah, is there anyone who wants to ask a question?
I think Arabella had been the one who has asked, contributed the most, and she is the one, because she's sitting in a country like the Netherlands. She is done all the things that she's supposed to do.
Mm. Okay, so I think they don't have a question, but if they do, they'll probably send me a message to ask you about it.
Now, that doesn't matter. If there are no questions, it's perfectly all right. The whole purpose of this webinar was to share information. For some people, this information could be new for the first time, and it could be also confusing. If you think it's confusing, please do let Cardella know. I'm happy to send you step by step what it is you need to do, whether it's making a will, whether it's doing a financial, should I say, analysis of where you stand right now. I do the financial analysis completely free of charge. There's no charge at all, because I feel it's an important thing that most people should do. It's quite comprehensive, but I would suggest do reach out to me, do that analysis so you know exactly where you stand. That is the first step.
Yeah.
And if you're running a business, remember, a business is not you and you are not the business.
Mm-hmm.
The business is a separate legal entity from you.
That's
so
true.
it doesn't mean that if I'm generating money from my business, I'm using it for myself. No, you need to take a salary, and you need to have proper accounts, and you need to maintain proper budgets. It's not like, oh, I got this money, now I'll just use it for myself, and that's not a business. So if you intend to be a businesswoman, then behave like one, learn to be like one. And if you don't know how to go about it, reach out to people who know what to do.
Yeah. Well, my husband is very good in that, because every time we had our money, we separated, this is for our travel, this is for blah, 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 this is for the insurance, so I learned from him very, very much. There is a question here from Reno. She asked, if we have taken life insurance here in Dubai, do we require insurance in home country too?
Okay, so Number one, if the life insurance is from an international company. When I'm talking international, I'm talking like FBI or Generali or Zurich. Zurich is the most popular one over here. They are generally valid worldwide. So it doesn't matter in which part of the world you are. If a claim is made, it will be honored. So I don't know where you are. Okay, so does that answer your question? I don't know whether they can hear me.
Yeah. I'll unmute Reno. Hi, Reno.
Hi.
Hi,
I'm
Renu.
sorry, I'm on my. How are you, Sandy?
I'm fine, sweetheart. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It was lovely listening to you. A lot of questions, a lot of tick marks. Okay, I've done this. I've done this. So it was amazing. It was like I just wanted to check with you. I've already done my Zurich here. You said that you should have a home country too. So is it required?
No, if you have an insurance policy from Zurich, then you're covered all over the world. So, for example, if you were to pass away, for example, in India or any other country, your beneficiaries would just have to contact Zurich. That's it. It's valid all over the world.
Okay. That's what I wanted to clear from you.
Yes, absolutely. So I always advise people, expatriates living in the UAE, please take a plan from an internationally recognized company. Do not go with local companies because you could then face a problem if you leave the country and your beneficiaries may have a problem getting the money. So best thing to do is always go with a reputable international company. And right now, Zurich is the best in this part of the world.
Thank you so much, Sandy.
Welcome, my dear. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, same to you.
Okay, take care.
Is there any more question? Do you have a question, Ashley?
I have got only appreciation. Thank you so much. I got all the answers even before asking the questions. And I so much loved it because always we were saying, believe yourself, love yourself. Now pay yourself.
Absolutely, darling. Pay yourself first.
Now,
That's the best way you can love yourself.
This is complete. Now it is very nice. So I'm going to remind myself, believe yourself, love yourself, and pay yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that.
Such a pleasure, such a pleasure, such a privilege. And this has been so nice. In my mindset, I am from Turkey. This will, for example, is such a shame conversation to speak. If we put it on the table, people will look at you, what happened to you, you know? But of course, you know, facts are sore. And apart from all of these, now I'm going to examine and definitely I'm going to speak some stuff with the husband and will communicate with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome, my dear. Thank you so much for your words of appreciation. Always remember, you can reach out to me because, as I said, I do the financial review and the guide for that absolutely free, because I feel unless people have the correct picture, how will they move forward? There's so many things that we are not aware of.
So true. This is why I wanted to write, but when I write, I cannot listen very much. And I feel like when I write, I am touching your face and disturbing you. So I didn't want to write, but I so much agree with you because I started this 50, 40, 10 3 years back when I was a housewife who was listening to these stories and kind of, then one day I got brave enough to invest in Forex. Now my money is working for me. And now I am going to make this money work and pay me. Now,
yes, absolutely. That's the spirit.
Okay, now I got the point. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Cardella. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in, Ashley. So I guess there's no more question.
Of our time.
I think there's no more questions. So I just would like to thank you, Sandi, and thank you for all the people who tuned in today. I just want to say, be safe and be well. Thank you.
Take care, sweetheart. Okay, what is this? If I move from one country, Anuj. Good evening, ma'am. I'm from India. My question is, what happens to the plan if we move from one country to another?
Depending on the...
Okay, so if it's an international plan, it is a portable plan and it can move from one country to the other. So if you are taking the plan in the UAE and then you find that you've been transferred or you move to someplace in Europe or someplace in Asia or maybe back to your home country, your plan is still valid. If you've taken a life insurance, you're covered. And there's a lot that you can also do. So if you have a plan which is from Zurich, do get in touch with me. Cardella has all my information and I will be able to give you proper guidance.
Yeah.
Okay? Is that it?
That's
Yes,
it,
ma'am.
I think.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think so.
Thank you, Anuja, for tuning in.
So the Asil VR.
That's Ashley, the one who speak to you before.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Oh, I'm awesome. Thank you so much. You're awesome as well. Okay, my love. I think we can sign off now. Thank you so much, Cardella, for giving me the opportunity to share this information. I think when we share information like this, we can bring about a positive change in the lives of many people.
That's true. That's true. That's what we are aiming for.
Absolutely, my dear. And thank you very much for the initiative.
Thank you so much too, Sandi.
All right, darling. God bless and take care.